Tomorrow is SummerSlam. And looking at the match card, it has potential to be a very good pay-per-view. And I'm interested in half the matches. However, the one I'm interested in the most, that I am dying to see out of the entire card, and that's Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. The rivalry has been very well done. The build up to it has been great. And it dates back from the night after Payback, I believe, in which Seth Rollins did this shocking heel turn. Because, let's be honest here, who thought that when the Shield would eventually split, that Seth Rollins would be the cause of their demise? I'll be honest with you. When that day would come, when the Shield split, I thought Dean Ambrose would be the one to cause it. Because it fits the nature of Dean Ambrose's character. That's what we know him as. We know him as this psychopath who is willing to do and go to any means he feels necessary to accomplish what he sets out to, even if it means hurting people. It's just, but they swerved us. They had Seth Rollins turn his back on the Shield. I was shocked as hell. I honestly was. And same night, I kept saying, you, Seth Rollins, better have a good explanation for what you did. The next week on Raw, we got his explanation. And this is how I interpret it. He betrayed his former partners, as he now calls them, his former partners, because he felt he was being overshadowed by them, and the best way for him to get his name out there and become a future main event player was to align himself with the Authority. I can understand his reason, but it's like, dude, did you really have to go down that road? I mean, really? But anyway, that same night, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose addressed Seth Rollins' betrayal. Roman Reigns' promo was actually not that bad. We now know that he has his sights set out for Randy Orton and possibly somewhere down the road Triple H, which I wouldn't mind seeing. And oh my God, Dean Ambrose's promo. Holy shit. One of the best Dean Ambrose promos I've heard in quite some time now. You can feel the emotion within that promo. You can feel how angry and disappointed and upset he was at Seth Rollins. So, in that promo, talks about how scummy Seth Rollins has become. And how when he's going to get his hands on Seth Rollins, he went into explicit detail on how he was just going to torture him, severely beat him down. While I was listening, I kept going like, holy shit. This is the Dean Ambrose we've been waiting for. This is how we like him. He's freaking crazy. This was reminiscent of the promos he would cut in developmental and on the indies as Jon Moxley. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this psychotic rage side of Ambrose. I mean, he's still the same character, but just watered down. But I can't wait until he gets like full-blown psycho. And he also addressed that how after once they hear Seth Rollins' explanation, that they're going to come down there and try to beat the shit out of him. Which they did. So the next few weeks we build into Money in the Bank. And there was a qualifying match. Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose. For the, at the time, vacant WWE Championship. If you haven't watched that match, go watch it, okay? Because when you have the time, watch it, because that match was just really good. It was really good. Watching that makes me want to see Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose feud sometime in the near future, because they work so well in the ring together, and just imagine the banter between them. Like that promos are just going to be just unreal. Okay. So it looked like Dean Ambrose got the upper hand, and then here comes Seth Rollins with a minor distraction, which eventually cost Ambrose the match. And this sets up a chain of events. For every time Dean Ambrose had a match, Seth Rollins would distract him, end up costing him a loss. And during Seth Rollins' matches, when it looks like he has the upper hand, Ambrose would come in and try to beat him down. Sometimes he would. Sometimes he would get his hands on him, other times not so much, because Seth Rollins would just run and hide. He would just get out of there. So then I think, was it a week or two before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, we get an announcement that we're going to have a traditional Money in the Bank match. That, for some reason, that Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns couldn't compete in. Roman Reigns got in by winning a battle royal. Ambrose, on the other hand, cuts a promo saying how he doesn't care that he's not in that match. He is going to get involved, ruin the pay-per-view, and take that Money in the Bank briefcase. Seth Rollins goes to Triple H, demands that Dean Ambrose gets put in the match so that way he doesn't cost him. So that way, not only does it will prevent Dean Ambrose from costing him the match, but that way he can keep a close eye on him and just... I forgot what Seth Rollins said, but I like that. That made Seth Rollins look smart. And so, we go to Money in the Bank, and my god, the bumps those two took were just sick. That suplex spot that Ambrose and Rollins did, Ambrose nearly took himself out of the match. Like, he re-injured his shoulder. I'm sitting there going like, oh, please don't tell me he's not, please don't tell me he's taken out of the match. He's taken out, yep, he's taken out of the match. He's taken out of the match. I knew Seth Rollins was going to win. I knew Seth Rollins was going to win. But at the same time, I couldn't help but to cheer Ambrose, because the sight of him being Mr. Money in the Bank is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So Seth Rollins was about to climb up the ladder. It's like, okay, so he's going to have one like this. Dean Ambrose comes back and is like, yes! Yes, go get him! Ambrose takes the chair, whacks Seth Rollins in the back with it. I'm getting super into it, screaming, yeah, Seth Rollins, yeah! How does it feel? How does it feel? And then this happens. So, they have Seth Rollins win by having Kane help him. I was like, was getting Kane involved really necessary? Was it really necessary? Did we have to have him involved in the match? The next night on Raw, Seth Rollins wins his after Seth Rollins' match. I think was it with Rob Van Dam? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but was it with Rob Van Dam? So Seth Rollins wins. He cuts the heel promo saying how he cuts this arrogant, cocky heel promo saying how he's now Mr. Money in the Bank and how he can become WWE champion anytime. Dean Ambrose appears on the Titantron, saying how if it weren't for Kane, he wouldn't be Mr. Money in the Bank. And how that briefcase of his is cursed. And it's not loaded with the contract, but it's instead loaded with TNT. Because every time he tries to cash in, Dean Ambrose will be there to stop him. After that promo, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, yes, thank you. The feud is continuing. This feud is continuing. I didn't want this feud to end. Because I didn't want it to end up. Because once I thought Seth Rollins grabbed the Money in the Bank briefcase, I thought in the Kane involvement, I thought their feud was done. Nope. I was wrong. It was still going. It was still going. And going into Battleground, those events continued. Dean Ambrose would try to chase down Seth Rollins and beat the shit out of him. And they would cost each other matches, but like minor distractions and whatnot. The announcement made was that Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins were going to have a match at Battleground. And I'm sitting there going, really? Really? You mean you couldn't hold this match off until SummerSlam? You couldn't? You just had to put it on Battleground? I'll be honest, I didn't really care for Battleground. I watched it, but that's because only because my dad wanted to watch the pay-per-view because there was nothing else on to watch. And he was really bored. So then Seth Rollins was cutting his promos, and then here comes Ambrose out of nowhere attacking him. Triple H intervenes. Okay, sorry about that. My mom called. She just wanted to know if we had any hamburgers because we're gonna be having tacos. Yeah, I'm guessing it's because I went to the mall today and brought home taco time. And now she wants tacos, so we're getting tacos. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, that's right. So, alright, I was talking about the Battleground pay-per-view. Okay. So then, Seth Rollins was having an interview. Ambrose attacks him. Triple H intervenes and bans him from the building. While this event was taking place, I was kind of puzzled. So does that mean we're not having the match? What's going on here? So we have two more matches. I can't recall what the first one was, but the next one was the Divas match, I believe. I'm sorry, I don't remember much like the match placement for Battleground because it was just a meh pay-per-view. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was your typical throwaway pay-per-view. So then, Rollins comes down the ring, goes down to the ring, and says, that match is still happening, and that if Ambrose isn't here, but by the count of 10, knowing very well that he's barred from the building, banned, barred, yeah. that if he doesn't come down by the count of 10, that he forfeits the match, and that Seth Rollins, that he be declared the winner. I like that. I like that. Seth Rollins took advantage of the situation and gets some much needed heat. So the ring announcer or the ref counts to 10. Ambrose doesn't show up. Seth Rollins celebrates. He's about to leave, and then here comes Ambrose, and they continue to brawl. This goes on for about 5-10 minutes. Seth Rollins escapes. We have a few more matches. Then we cut to outside. Seth Rollins is trying to get into his vehicle. Here comes Ambrose, popping out of a trunk and just proceeding to attack Rollins before he scurries away. I like that. I really like that. I know a lot of people didn't like how instead of having a match, they cut it up into these segments, but because, well, the match was advertised, but I preferred to have those little segments over having them having an actual match, because it just by breaking it into these little segments, it makes us want to see the match more. Well, for me anyway, it made me want to see those two finally have their head-to-head collision at SummerSlam, which is now happening. So the build continues, and not just on Raw and SmackDown, but they also continued it on Main Event too with little promos. The company really did a good job of making this rivalry a big deal, and it's one of the most interesting storylines they have going on for them right now. So now so on SmackDown, or one episode of SmackDown, Dean Ambrose had a match with Cesaro, a no DQ match because of the events that occurred during their match that same week on Raw. Ambrose wins, and then afterwards Seth Rollins comes and just attacks him. So, which gives some heat on Seth Rollins, because around that time the feud kind of sizzled out a bit. So now then I think these past few weeks, or actually not, sorry about that, last week, we get a Beat the Clock challenge. Ambrose had his match with Del Rio, and the time to beat was, I think, around 15 minutes. I don't know exactly. And so that if Seth Rollins were to beat his opponent in less than 15 minutes, he would get to choose the stipulation for their match at SummerSlam. The scheduled match was supposed to be Seth Rollins versus Rob Van Dam, but instead the Authority changed their opponent in hopes that he'd get the easy win with Steve Slater. Okay, sorry for the interruption again. Alright, so Seth Rollins has his new opponent in Heath Slater. The match is starting, and then here comes Ambrose. And these segments were funny. So we got Dean Ambrose. While Seth Rollins was having his match, he was looking at the Money in the Bank briefcase. Grabs some popcorn. Puts it in the... Actually, no. Before he does that, he opens the briefcase. That gives Seth Rollins attention. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? takes out the contract, rips it in half. And everyone's like, dude, why'd you do that? Slater tries to roll him up. Rollins was able to break free. So that didn't work. Distraction number 2. Ambrose goes to grab popcorn and put it in the Money in the Bank briefcase. That didn't work either. Goes to get a soda. Starts to pour that in the briefcase. Getting Rollins distracted as well, and that didn't work out either. Ambrose proceeds to grab JBL's hat, puts it on, starts strutting in it. Looks, I gotta say, it looks really good in a cowboy hat. I'm not gonna lie, it looks good in a cowboy hat. But anyway, goes to put that in the Money in the Bank briefcase, close it. That wasn't able to distract Seth Rollins enough for Heath Slater to get the win. And it wasn't until he goes up on the announce table, starts flinging the briefcase. That was enough to get Seth Rollins so distracted that Heath Slater rolls him up and gets the win. So now, Dean Ambrose got to choose the stipulation for their match at SummerSlam. When that broke out, I was thinking that maybe that they were probably going to have something like a no holds barred, street fight, falls count anywhere, possibly a steel cage, some hardcore type stipulation to their match. But instead, we got a lumberjack match. And I'm thinking, like, really, of all match choices, a lumberjack match. The story behind it, the decision, in a way it makes sense. Seeing how throughout this whole rivalry feud, every time Ambrose would try to get his hands on Seth Rollins, he would find a way to weasel out and escape. And by having the ring surrounded by the members of the roster, Seth Rollins wouldn't be able to do that. I also like how Ambrose pointed out that the Lumberjacks, not only are they Seth Rollins' enemies, but they're also Ambrose's as well, because they're the same people that they beaten down when they were part of the Shield. I'm going into this match, and I might have set my expectations a little too high for this, because I've watched their matches in developmental, and they were all awesome. Like, Ambrose and Rollins, they just work so amazing in the ring together. I'm hoping this match delivers. Even though the stipulation's not the best, but they can work. I know they can make it into a good match. Now, I don't really care who wins this match. I'm looking forward to it, but see, I'm okay with Ambrose winning, because we all want to see Rollins get his ass kicked, okay? Because Seth Rollins is playing his heel character, his heel role so well. Like, he says and does things that just make you want to hate him and see his ass get beaten down so badly. On the other hand, I'm okay with Seth Rollins winning because I want to see this feud continue. I really want to see this feud continue, but also now this past I think it was these past few days ago, news broke out that Dean Ambrose is going to be starring in one of the WWE Studios movie, and he's playing a cop. So, which makes me believe that they might give Ambrose the win at SummerSlam, and then write him off television on the next episode of Raw. But if that's the case, I hope they have the feud continue. I really want this feud to continue, and hopefully their match at SummerSlam delivers and is just as good, if not even better, than the build-up. I know that's saying a lot, but I really want this match to be amazing. So the build-up has been awesome. Hopefully their match at SummerSlam is awesome, and the overall pay-per-view itself is awesome. That's it for the video. Comment down below your thoughts on the Seth Rollins and Ambrose rivalry. Who you would like to see win during their match? Yeah, who would you like to see win? Sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. God damn. So yeah, that's it for now. Until my next video. See you guys.